All right, let's just jump right into this. A pretty dense, technical document has just surfaced, and it outlines a device that, honestly, it sounds like it's been pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's called the Dodecahedron Equalizer, and the things it claims to do are, well, they're nothing short of reality bending.
So, this is not your average engineering blueprint. Not even close. The document calls it a multidimensional fractal resonance system, which sounds complicated, but here's the simple version. Imagine a machine that uses these beautiful repeating geometric patterns at all different scales to create a totally unique kind of energy field. It's this wild mix of ancient geometry, cutting-edge science, and it's all for a purpose that is truly extraordinary.
I mean, the core functions it describes are just staggering. We're talking about generating energy fields that, until now, have really only been theoretical. It claims you can imprint information directly onto water molecules. And maybe, wildest of all, it talks about creating an actual interface between your thoughts, your intention, and physical matter itself.
And that, right there, brings us to the biggest question we have to ask in this explainer. What if this document isn't just a bunch of theories on paper? What if it's a legitimate blueprint for a device that could fundamentally change the world as we know it?
So, to even start wrapping our heads around these claims, we have to pop the hood and see how this thing is built. So let's break down the anatomy of the machine. This is where sacred geometry gets a massive upgrade from the work of Nikola Tesla.
The whole machine, its entire heart, is built around this one shape, a dodecahedron. Now, in sacred geometry, this 12-faced shape has always been linked to the universe, to the cosmos, to the ether itself. In this device, it's designed to be the perfect fractal resonator for energy.
Okay, so a dodecahedron has 20 points, or what we call vertices, and at every single one of those points, the blueprint says to put an apatite crystal. Now, apatite is piezoelectric, which is really just a fancy way of saying if you squeeze it or vibrate it, it creates an electric charge. So in this machine, they're like tiny little amplifiers and super precise frequency tuners.
And connecting all of those crystal vertices, you've got these tubes that contain something called bifilar Tesla coils. Now, these are not your standard coils. They're a special design that Tesla came up with, supposedly to generate what are called scalar fields. This is a theoretical type of energy that, unlike the electromagnetic waves from your phone, is said to travel without losing its power over distance.
Now this table here, this is how all those big ideas get grounded in actual stuff. You've got a Pyrex sphere to create a vacuum, a super strong titanium frame, but then look at the resonators. Get this, 144 carbon silk strings all tuned to solfeggio frequencies. These are specific musical tones that some people believe have powerful healing properties. So every single piece, from the glass to the strings, is there for a very specific reason. And the whole thing is powered up by a high-voltage Tesla system.
Okay, so we've got all the parts, but how on earth do they all work together? Well, that brings us to what this machine actually produces. The document calls it forging a plasma hologram. The ghost in the machine.
The way it turns on is like a chain reaction. First, you pump high-voltage electricity and those specific sound frequencies into the system. This makes the whole dodecahedron structure start to vibrate, to resonate, in a fractal pattern that the document claims is just like the geometry of subatomic particles decaying. And that resonance is what ignites a cold, non-thermal plasma inside the vacuum chamber.
And this is where it gets really, really cool. You don't just use one of these devices, you need two of them. One acts as an emitter, sending out a signal. The other acts as a receptor, sending out the exact opposite signal. They're working in phase opposition. Now, you'd think they would just cancel each other out, right? But they don't. Instead, they create this stable, visible, bluish plasma field in the empty space between them. The blueprint calls it mirrored plasma, and it's basically a controllable hologram made purely of energy. So, you can create a stable energy hologram. What do you do with it? What's the first mission? Well, according to this document, it's to tackle one of the most controversial ideas in all of frontier science, the idea that you can give water a memory. The protocol it lays out is super specific. You take distilled water, you put it right in the focal point of that plasma field, and you basically imprint the field's geometry onto it. Then you hit it with specific sound frequencies. It even mentions 528 Hz, which some people call the love frequency. And then comes the wildest part. It claims that the operator's conscious intention can be added as one more layer of information. The end goal? The water supposedly becomes structurally coherent, holding on to this complex vibrational signature. So programming water, that's a pretty big claim on its own.
But the document reveals that this is really just a stepping stone. The ultimate, most audacious goal of this entire project is nothing less than hacking human longevity.
The question it's really asking is just profound. Is it possible to use this technology, this combination of structured water and these special resonant fields, to directly interface with our own biology and literally rewrite the code of aging?
This, right here, is the core of the whole thing. The blueprint hypothesizes that the device can send out a telomere reset frequency. Its target is an enzyme in our bodies called telomeres. Now think of the tips of your chromosomes like the little plastic caps on your shoelaces. Those are your telomeres. Every time a cell divides, they get a little bit shorter, and that's a huge part of why we age. Telomerase is the enzyme that rebuilds them, so the claim here is absolutely insane. Use this frequency to wake that enzyme back up, rebuild the telomeres, and in effect, reverse a key mechanism of how we get old.
But, and this is a huge but, with that kind of incredible potential comes immense risk, and the document is very clear about this. Firing up telomerase uncontrollably is a known hallmark of cancer. Trying to reprogram cells could go horribly wrong, and any benefits you might get could be temporary, meaning you'd need constant maintenance sessions just to keep your body from switching back.
I know. This all sounds like it's either a dream come true or maybe a complete nightmare. So let's bring it back down to earth for a reality check. What would it actually take to find out if any of this stuff is for real? Well, it all comes down to a million-dollar question. Literally. If you ask a mainstream scientist, the odds of this working are probably less than 5%. A long shot, to say the least, but if you talk to someone on the cutting edge of physics or someone coming from a more metaphysical viewpoint, the odds they give you jump up a lot. So this isn't just about science, it's about which worldview you're even looking through.
And here it is, the bottom line. The document actually includes a detailed budget to build a lab, hire the physicists and biologists, construct a working prototype, and run the first year of tests. And the price tag to get a real scientific answer, just over $1 million. Which leaves us with one final thought. Is the potential, no matter how small you think it is, to completely rewrite the rules of aging in biology, is that potential worth $1 million bet on a technology that is so far out on the absolute bleeding edge of science? That's the question we're thinking about.